Mrs. Roper's memory.
Oh.
Okay.
Are we live?
We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RetroBlasting live stream.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, this is I can start over? Can I start over?
Take two.
Yeah, take
This
two.
is the RetroBlasting live stream. We do this every other Saturday, as you know, and if you're on our Patreon, then you get to vote for the next topic of each live stream. And we'd like to thank our patrons who are on our Patreon page. They have voted this week for superhero toys of the 80s, which is why our display is adorned this way this week for this live stream. Melinda, how do you want to... Melinda's joining me, by the way, today, which is fun.
Hi.
How do you want to proceed with this discussion? Do you want to just start answering questions, or would you like to give a sort of overview of your experiences with superhero toys?
So I'm going to sort of not participate in any way other than reading to you.
Okay,
That's
great.
how I would like to proceed, unless you want me to talk about... I didn't really have superhero toys, but I like to pretend I was Wonder Woman. I still do, from time to time.
She does.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, so I'll kick all this off.
I'm gonna. What I want to do is our moderator, who is normally here, is not here today, and so I'm going to read your comments. You're gonna see me reading your comments. I will get to your comments if possible, and then I will just sort of rudely interrupt Michael and jump in and just yell out your questions, and then he will field those, and then in the meantime he will talk. First topic that I want you guys to answer for me is, we were having a conversation earlier about if you were to eat a human ear, the texture of that, like what kind of foods would you put together? Yeah, that's Aaron back there laughing. What kind of foods would you put together to achieve that texture? I was thinking gummy bears, maybe some potato chips, pita crisps. Put all that together and put your comments in the comments, and I'll pick the winner.
You'll find out why we're asking this question on our next
There's a reason I'm asking
Dreamland
this
podcast
Just
that we
listen to
do.
the Dreamland. Anyway.
This is related to the next Dreamland podcast?
Oh yeah. Me and Aaron, we've got the whole thing going.
Okay, I'm personally really excited about the next Dreamland podcast. I can't go into it because I don't want to give away what they're working on, but as a listener, I can't wait for that podcast because it's been this weird mini obsession of mine in nostalgia for several decades.
And now he has spread that obsession.
I
to
have,
both
like a virus.
Aaron and myself.
Like a virus. Okay.
Oh, I'm getting some great answers.
Okay,
Good
so superhero toys kind of took an interesting path. In the 70s, and I guess I'm going to do my first get up and move of the live stream, superhero toys originally, not counting the more primitive stuff of the 40s and 50s through the 60s, they really found their renaissance with Mego. That was my seat. My seat is really squeaky. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can see this in the camera. I have the handy dandy camera here right by me. Is this
thing on?
Is this thing on? Do we see it?
I don't see it, but...
Okay,
we're working on it. Hey, in the meantime, Logan Michael has given us $5. Thank you,
Logan. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And he asks, I am almost done collecting Secret Wars and I want to start collecting superpowers. Do you have any advice on collecting superpowers?
Yes, superpowers is one where there are several rare figures that you need to be aware of. And Cyborg is one of them. You can see Cyborg right up here. He's the very silvery dude right over here. But Cyborg is one that's very hard to, he's very hard to find. What am I doing?
I don't know. We're trying to figure it out.
We're trying to figure out the camera?
Keep talking.
Okay. So Cyborg is one that you want to keep your eye out for and prioritize some money if you're a completist, because he's very hard to find. He's very rare. And he's got some accessories like his arm clips and things. He's going to cost you some money. And then the other ones that you're going to want to look out for are Shazam. He's hard to find. And then there's a number of other ones that may or may not interest you depending on how into DC you are. So for example, Golden Pharaoh and Claw and people like that. they're hard to find, but they're not they might not be ones that rev your engine. You also want to look for the Clark Kent mail away. That one is difficult to come by sometimes, especially in good condition, because he was only available through the mail. And then the Batcopter is one of the harder vehicles to find in the line, so you want to keep your eyes out for that as well. The only two vehicles I have in the Superpowers line are the Bat vehicles, because I just felt like the other vehicles were rather superfluous, so I didn't get those. How's our camera situation doing?
We are working on technical difficulties. Please bear with us.
Thank you. That's Aaron Harper, the co-host of the Dreamland podcast.
It's covering up your face.
Oh, it's covering up my face. There it is.
There it is.
Great.
Hooray.
Okay, so this is
the Hulk smashed the camera. We've
Hulk
just repaired
smash.
So this is as I try to operate the camera here. This is the Hulk Mego. He's the only superheroes Mego I currently have. Whoa. I guess there's a delay. So we're just going to go with that for now. So this is the Hulk Mego. This was the sort of ground zero of superhero toys. And the funny part is that Marvel and DC were both licensed by Mego. So Mego was able to do a world's greatest superheroes and mix the Marvel and DC characters up. And then sometime in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, they created the Pocket Heroes to start competing, not really competing, but getting in line with the Kenner Star Wars phenomenon of the 3 3/4 inch figures. So right up at the front, and I'll bring a few of them over so you can see them, we have the Mego, Marvel, and DC Pocket Heroes. So I'll move Hulk out of the way, and I'll get some of these guys. Superman and Spider-Man. That's my chair.
I think the chair adds a lot.
The chair does add a lot of squeak to
I mean,
this.
it's nice because it gives it some sound texture.
Michael, I told you that rice pilaf for lunch was a bad idea.
I know, and I never listen. Okay. So these are the Mego Pocket Heroes. I can't tell if. Please let us know if that camera's coming into focus, because I'd like to know if you guys can see that all right. I know it's been in focus in previous live streams. But these are the Pocket Heroes. There were two versions of each character. There was one that was the first run of the Pocket Heroes. All the heroes were bent at the knees. Not really sure why, but they all looked like they had to go number 2 and were about to miss getting to the toilet. And then they changed them in the early 80s to be straight-legged. So these are the later straight-legged versions of the Pocket Heroes of Superman and Spider-Man. Then everything flipped because Mego went out of business, and then everybody came to the table to shop for the licenses for DC and Marvel. And Mattel ended up getting Marvel with the Secret Wars line here on my left, your right. And then Kenner Toys, the people that did Star Wars, got the DC superheroes with superpowers. And there's always been, just like with the comic books themselves, there's always been a friendly rivalry amongst Gen X kids about which was the better toy line, whether it was Superpowers or Secret Wars. Although Superpowers pretty much wins out every time because Kenner was behind it. Kenner knew what they were doing. They were at the height of their powers in the 80s.
Superpowers.
Yes, the height of their superpowers. Whereas Mattel, they were more known for He-Man. They hadn't quite figured it out. What I do find interesting is that somebody was colluding between the two toy companies because they ended up agreeing on virtually the same scale for these figures. They weren't 3 3/4 inches, which was real popular, but they also weren't He-Man size. They were their own unique superhero size, 4.5 inches, whatever it is, scale. And the difference is, if there's any questions flying in right now, please shout them out. Because
what is your opinion on the DC and Marvel Toy Biz line?
DC and Marvel Toy Biz line. Yeah, that was the later 80s, so that was 89. And I liked some of I have the Toy Biz Batman and Joker and a number of the variants from that. I have the Batwing, the Batmobile, the movie-based stuff. I didn't really have a lot of the other superheroes except for Robin. I like them, but a lot of them are based off the Superpowers molds. So if you want, say, a Riddler for cheap and you don't want to go after their very rare South American only Superpowers Riddler, you can get a Toy Biz 1989 Riddler, save yourself a lot of money. It's a cool line. I'm glad that it's getting more notoriety these days, but for a while it was kind of a comic book store peg warmer. It didn't really move very much. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. This is a live stream. These things are going to happen. Any other questions?
How do you get your hair to look like that?
That's not a question.
You know, that's actually a very good question. I
Thank you,
frequently
Aaron.
wondered. My hair will not do that no matter how hard I try.
My hair is unruly and petulant. So what's the next question?
What is the best superpower gimmick?
Ooh, that's
The
a good
best superpower gimmick. Well,
That's from Manly Stranger, by the way.
Manly Stranger.
Nice.
Well, Manly Stranger. The best superpower gimmick depends.
Hey, Venom 75 is back.
Hey, Venom. Do you know Venom 75?
Well, I talked about him last time. Apparently, his name comes from the superpower Venom, the
right.
superhero Venom.
Yeah, from Marvel Comics.
But to me, it's always going to be the metal band.
You know, the one that I like the most from the superpowers line.
See, it is a real question. Christopher says, how does Michael get his hair to do that?
I don't know what my hair's
Thank you,
doing.
Christopher. Thank you.
Anyway, the best superpowers feature, if I can ever get through this question,
Sorry.
is I like
sorry.
the Wonder Woman superpower feature where she does the bracelet block. I think that's really cool. Unfortunately, for a lot of those action figures, the gearing system inside tends to weaken over time, and so she can't quite get those bracelets to lock on a lot of the figures anymore. They just kind of, but I like the concept. The stupidest one, just to get ahead of that question, I do not like Brainiac's computer kick. I think that's a very dumb feature, and it also tends to break his arm off very easily because of his vac metallized construction.
Are there any figures from the 80s that you consider superhero toys that are not DC or Marvel?
Figures that are superhero toys that are not DC or Marvel from the 80s. Gosh, I'd almost
That
have
was
to
from
go.
RF Biker Scout, and that was a really great question because normally you go, well, do you mean now or do you mean... So
Well,
he specified.
RF Biker Scout is a
know.
toy collecting legend
I
here
know.
on YouTube and a longtime friend, so thank you for being here as part of the live stream. I'm trying to think, I'm looking around here trying to determine if there is a significant non-DC or Marvel superhero toy line from the 80s, and I'm having a hard time coming up with one. Bionic 6, though, wasn't a comic book superhero. It was a cartoon that was generated.
Didn't they have a what about Defenders of the Earth?
A cartoon is like
Defenders
a 15
of
frames
the
per
Earth are
second
like
comic book.
superpower, or they're superheroes,
Okay,
sort of, kind of.
okay, give it to Melinda for coming up with Defenders of the Earth.
Defenders of the Earth, Defender.
Because you're right, those were comic strip superheroes: the Phantom, Flash Gordon, Mandrake, Lothar. He-Man is not a comic book character.
He had
Tim.
a comic book. He-Man had a comic
Yeah, a
book.
comic book that came with his toy, but he wasn't generated from a comic.
Don't
You know what?
discriminate.
We're getting distracted. Next question.
Logan Michael gave us $3 and asks, will you do a Secret Wars video anytime soon?
Yes, I'm working on a Secret Wars video for the near future. It's probably going to land around the same time as GoBots and some other things I'm working on. But as you can see, I've been building my Secret Wars collection for that purpose. So there will be one soon.
Someone says Warlord. John Carroll says Warlord was a comic book. And Red Circle's Mighty Crusaders. Swamp Thing.
Would a warlord be a superhero, though? Maybe I'm wrong. Swamp
to
Thing
me,
definitely. Swamp
yes.
Thing was, but from what I recall, Swamp Thing didn't have toys until the early 90s.
What about
So-
Crystar?
Crystar did have a comic book, but it was almost like the comic book was made to tie into
What
the
about
toy.
Transformers?
Transformers had a comic book, but the comic book was not what generated the idea.
Hey, how about I just start yelling out toy names and toy lines and see
Oh,
if
well,
it makes
okay.
Michael lose it?
Andy just pointed from behind the camera that Ninja Turtles, yes. So Ninja Turtles
yeah.
was a Good call, Andy. Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
was
see, that was the next
huge...
thing I was going to say, just because.
But see, I associate the Ninja Turtles toy line with the cartoon because they both are married to one another. Anyway, the point is that Superpowers and Secret Wars, they both had comic book spin-offs to promote the toy lines, but the toy lines were created to promote the universes, the DC and Marvel universes, to get kids back into comic books, which has been a constant battle over the last 30 years.
What was one of the most obscure 80s superhero figures in your collection?
One of the most obscure 80s superhero figures in my collection is probably going to be Cyborg. Let me grab him and put him under the camera. When I say obscure, it's mostly about rarity. The two rarest things on this table from where I'm standing are, come on, Superman, stand up.
Bada D's actually asks, is this the dynamic between the two of us when we're out having dinner?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
All the time.
You are not getting an...
we were, in fact, buying a couch recently, and we had, like, the people who worked in the store were just, like, following us around, laughing at us, arguing. And
so this is Cyborg. Cyborg is one of the harder to find Superpowers figures. And he's also very difficult to find in good condition because of the vac metallizing that covers him. He also has 2 clip-on accessories, well 3. On his back, he can carry his extensions for his arm because he's got that changing mechanical arm, kind of like the Winter Soldier or something like that. So if you don't have those pieces as well, he can be tough to track down with those. But that's the rarest. And then also the other rare piece, which I believe you can see because there's no way to put it in front of the camera. So Tim, if we can shut the camera off for a second, the figure cam.
That seems undignified.
Yeah, sorry. At the very front of the table, wrapped in original packaging, is the Mego Pocket Heroes Spider-Mobile. This packaging is actually, I believe, from catalog mail order when you ordered it out of the Sears catalog, and I was able to snag it a few years ago on eBay. It was the only Spider-Mobile for the Pocket Heroes that I could find. The larger Spider-Man from this line from a few years before had a larger Spider-Mobile, but that one still in the original packaging is probably one of the rarer superhero items I have.
Who is your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero is Superman, followed closely by Wonder Woman and Captain America, not in any particular order. So as a matter of fact, you can see I'm wearing my...
I was about to say, you're representing Superman pretty hard today.
I am representing Superman pretty well.
Did you show off the back of your shirt, by the way?
Oh,
I'm
the
sure
back
you
of my
have it
shirt?
somewhere.
I don't even know if I can... Am I going to have to... Can you see
You're
that
good.
in the camera? Yeah, so I love Superman. And I also love Captain America. As a matter of fact, we just... Boy, this chair is farty. We just...
It's not the chair.
Okay. I'm gonna go get a recent acquisition.
Melinda, I did see a comment in there from a gentleman named Leonard saying that he enjoyed the show last night. So I'm guessing he got to listen to our latest
Oh, yeah, our
podcast.
latest episode of the Dreamland podcast featured Brian Latendry from the Thrash It Out podcast and the Power Chords podcast. He came on our show and we talked about metal bands selling out or people perceiving them as selling out and how that affects fans. And
I think it kind of it came down to that moment when we broke up with our favorite band.
Exactly, and
know?
sort of how that feels. So
He's protected.
Yeah, so this was my latest
hurl your
acquisition.
meanest comments. No, don't really do that. Don't really do that.
No, this is my latest acquisition. This is an exact replica of Chris Evans' shield from the first Avenger and Winter Soldier, the elevator scene to the end of Winter Soldier. And I'm a big fan of paragons of virtue like Superman, Captain America, people like that who stand for truth and justice. So, yep.
Logan Michael gave us $5 and says, if Secret Wars had a fourth wave, who would you have wanted to see?
Hold on, coming back.
By the way, guys, that is the full weight and has the leather straps on the back of it that are made by actually tooled by the same folks that made the props. So,
yep, that is correct. Those are that is from I don't know if it's pronounced Machina or Machina props on Etsy.
probably Machina.
Machina, yeah. What?
Where did you get the shield? Christopher wants to know, and I'm going to support Christopher because he supported me.
Yeah,
Teamwork.
Machina props, Machina props on Etsy is where I got that shield. It's a very exact replica by a very talented artisan. As far as Wave 4 of Superpowers, what I would have liked to have seen, more villains. I really would have liked to have seen some more villains, especially like Catwoman. I would have loved a Supergirl, although she's not a villain. I would have loved to have seen Supergirl.
Depends on who you ask.
Not the movie, the character. I would have enjoyed seeing more of Batman's villains like Catwoman, and more of Superman's villains as well. There were a wealth of characters that didn't get representation in the Superpowers line that would have been great.
Wildstar Studios suggests that you need a life-size lenticular shield for Captain America from Secret Wars.
Yeah, the Secret Wars Captain America shield is really disappointing, especially given that the entire toy line's gimmick was about giving everybody shields, but when Captain America got one, it was still that lenticular gimmick. I'll bring him over here and show you this pathetic thing. He's the only character that I display with his lenticular shield because he didn't come with any other shield.
So Melinda, if your shirt or if Michael's shirt represents truth and justice, what does your shirt represent?
Insanity.
Thank you.
That was my Wednesday Addams impression.
It was great.
Did you like it?
I was menaced and was going to leave.
Okay, so if we turn the figure cam back on. Yep, there's Cap with his dumb shield. But
that would be a great cosplay. Mad Hat 2K.
Oh, you mean doing Secret Wars Captain America?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, just make sure that your red stripes on your shirt are always faded and almost rubbing off, because the Secret Wars paint apps were notorious for coming off very easily. My Tim, who helps us run the live stream from an operations point of view, he and I have had a lot of discussions about Secret Wars and Superpowers, and he always talks about how when he was a kid, the Superpowers toys stayed inside because they were really high quality and he didn't want them to get beaten up. But the Secret Wars toys went outside and stayed in the sandbox because they were indestructible. They're almost like solid pieces of 5 POA rubber, and they are indestructible, but they're not as dynamic on display.
Robert Maxey gave us $20.
Wow, Robert, thank you so much. I appreciate the donation.
He says, y'all represent everything good about the internet. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That's super nice.
There's lots of comments about Michael's hair today.
Yeah.
Well, it looks Superman-ish is what I'm getting right now.
What?
And what's funny is right as that comment came up, you reached up and just casually brushed it to the side. It was glamorous.
Well, I'm glad everybody's liking my hair. I don't know if that's an ironic compliment. What's going on? I see people laughing behind the camera, so.
It says Michael's hair needs its own action figure.
All right, next question.
Thanks, you guys. If Mattel had done more figures, this is just someone saying that they would have loved to see them do Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, Fantastic Four would have been great, and eventually we did get Fantastic Four in the Toy Biz line after 1989. For some reason, DC pulled their license from Toy Biz and they gave it back to Kenner. What's going on?
Sorry,
Nothing.
I don't want to interrupt
No,
you.
no, go ahead.
No, I won't let you finish.
No, go ahead
I'm
and
going to let you
finish.
finish.
DC gave their license back to Kenner, and Toy Biz carried on with the Marvel line. And when they did that, they started introducing more of the characters. So they started doing cooler variations on Spider-Man. They introduced the Fantastic Four and a number of the Fantastic Four's vehicles. And then in 1994 or 5, I believe, they came out with a Fantastic Four cartoon series, and Toy Biz launched into that toy line as well. Had the Fantastic Four mobile, or whatever it's called, the vehicle, and a number of other things. So yeah, Fantastic Four did finally get representation, just not in the 80s.
Logan Michael gave us $3 again and asks if you would go back on World Class Bullshitters.
Oh, thank you, Logan, for the donation.
Sorry for the profanity, but that's the name of their channel. So.
Yeah, thank you for the donation. I'm I'm in talks with Jeff Hicks from that channel. There isn't anything concrete right now because we're waiting for the right opportunity. And in the meantime, I'm also working on a number of big projects with some other YouTube content creators. The host of I Grew Up Star Wars, Tom Burgess, and I are working on a big Buck Rogers two-parter, which should be really cool. And I'm working with the guys from the Voltron podcast on a possible team-up regarding Mighty Orbots. So I've got a few irons in the fire right now. But thank you for asking. Jeff has always been a really great person to me.
Chris Smith gave us $10 and says, definitely not 80s lines, but what are your thoughts on the McFarlane, Batman, the original series, and modern superhero figures? And awesome job on the latest Dreamland. It has quickly become my favorite podcast.
Well,
wow.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. So what
Appreciate
the
it.
question in there was?
The question is, what are your thoughts on McFarlane, Batman animated series, and modern superhero figures?
Oh, McFarlane toys are really tough because there were so many of them produced in the 90s that, much like the comic book bubble that burst, they have become peg warmers since then. They were hot at the time, and now they've kind of sort of imploded on themselves in terms of value and desirability. I really love Batman animated series. I have a good number of them. I'll go over there and grab one real quick.
I hope you guys are playing the drinking game of RetroBlasting, which is every time Michael gets up, you take a shot.
But little Goku says he's going to cosplay Michael's hair.
Nice.
All right, we'll look for you.
What is wrong with my hair today?
Nothing.
So pretty. Hey,
But
do you guys remember that line in Buffy where like they used that as a way to totally freak Cordelia out? They just had Giles, or I think it was Xander, somebody looked right at her hair and was like, what's going on with her hair? And she's like, oh my God. Or I don't even think they said anything. He just started staring at her hair and she ran away. So that works for Michael too.
I'm gonna go get the Batman animated series stuff and come back. So
James Leach gave us $5, and he says, I had that Batcopter in the repackaged black that came out after the Batman movies came out.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Oh, okay.
But he gave us $5, so thank you very much, James.
I just want to start playing the Batman theme right now.
So I don't know if you can. I'm sure you guys can see this. Well, there's that farty chair. This is. I don't want to use these chairs again. So this is the.
Let's keep it going.
This is the Bat plane from the animated series line from Kenner, 1993-94. I have the Batmobile, the Wayne Manor, all the major villains, including the ventriloquist and Talia. I've got the original combat belt Batman, and then I've also got the two different versions of the Batmobile. What is going on?
We just think you're really funny.
Logan Michael gave us $5 again and says, Michael doesn't control his hair controls him.
The theme of the day was supposed to be superpowers or superheroes.
It's actually super hair.
Okay, I'm gonna
Just keep talking.
I'm gonna take the Bat plane. I love the Batman animated series toy line. I'm gonna be doing a video about it in the future. I've got everything I need to do the video with. I really appreciate the animated series question. I guess I gotta go deal with my hair now.
It looks really pretty.
You just entertain our guests on the internets. You entertain our guests. So what's the next question?
What do you think of Defenders of the Earth toys?
I really like Defenders of the Earth toys. I just kicked a display case.
So I was
Where
thinking
the
we would.
Defenders of the Earth toys live,
That's
actually.
interesting. I was thinking we could talk to our production team here and see if we can mic the chairs.
I think we should mic the chairs.
Some folks are
because-
saying they can't really hear the chair noises.
Hang on, I can fix this. Hang on.
All right. I don't know if you guys can catch that.
Can you hear that at all?
It's subtle.
So
It's subtle. You kind of have to be
just
here.
want to apologize to everybody. There's so many questions.
There's so many questions, and we're really sorry if we're not getting to them. It's very challenging to scroll through everything, and they're coming up very quickly. So
Yeah, even with two of us looking at it,
yeah.
it's.
All right, we'll just fire them off. We'll just keep going.
A lot of the things I see are people talking about your hair. So if you've seen one that's not that, Aaron, please yell it out.
Okay, I'm watching.
Mechanism hard to repair on the superpowers figures.
The mechanism on the Superpowers figures, why is it hard to repair? It's because the figures themselves are sonic welded together. So if you are brazen enough to take an X-Acto knife or some kind of cutting tool and open up the torso of a superpowers figure. The problem is that once you get to the mechanism to try and fix it, even if you somehow succeed, you might not ever get the figure back together the way that the factory did. That's the problem with mechanized gimmicks in action figures. That's why I don't like them, because once they break, the figure is kaput, and there's not much you can do at that point. So you just have to go find nice examples, or you have to find examples that are cosmetically nice, and maybe the mechanism is broken and you just want them for display. That might save you a few bucks.
Okay, so real quick, I just want to say hi to Chloe, and the question was asked, I know you hate Funko Pops, right?
I do.
With a lot.
Yeah.
Would you consider buying a Funko Pop of your hair?
What is going on with my hair today? I didn't know my hair was any different from the last live stream.
It's not. It's actually better.
Avengers or Justice League?
Hmm.
Are you talking about the movie?
Yeah,
are we
you
talking
about
about the movies, or are we talking about? Let's answer both. For the movies, it would have to be Avengers.
Yes, for the movies, Avengers.
Because we actually did watch the Justice League movie. You're welcome.
Yeah, it was not good.
I thought it was great because I love bad movies.
I loved the Justice League animated series from about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was
that was
really
a
great.
great show.
Yep.
I think we've got all of that on Blu-ray now. But what a great show. And so for animation, definitely Justice League. For movies, definitely Avengers.
Will we be fixing Broken Vader's arms, or is it a character gimmick? Well, it's definitely not a gimmick.
Right, it's not a gimmick in the sense that his arms legitimately did fall off one day, much to my shock and horror.
Yeah, I was there. It wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, I think it was before RetroBlasting even got started.
Was.
But that there's always a chance that his arms might get fixed, but we're also very concerned about what he would do if he was reunited with his arms.
And like I told him earlier in chat, we all feel a whole lot safer around here with Vader not having his arms.
Exactly.
I mean, you know what he would do.
Right. He would wreak havoc.
I mean, I know he tells you.
He doesn't tell me anything. You think Broken Vader confides in me?
I think Mike and Melinda are going to have their own Funko Pop soon. Wouldn't that be ironic?
I do not want my own Funko Pop. I do not want my own Funko Pop.
So, favorite toy-inspired comic book?
Favorite toy-inspired comic book?
Does it go that way? Are there toy-inspired comic books?
Yeah, especially Star Comics back in the 80s.
Okay,
They did a lot of toy-inspired comics. Marvel did a few. I think my favorite toy-inspired comic would have to be G.I. Joe by Larry Hama from 1982 to 1994. I think it was just a fantastic book. And then second to that would probably be Marvel's effort on Transformers. Yes.
Thank you, Mike Mitchell. We appreciate it. Gave us $5.
Oh, Mike, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it.
Did I miss that one? How did I miss that? Anyway, Eric
James.
James.
No, we didn't miss it.
Oh.
We just said it.
Good job, Aaron. Eric James gave us $5 as well and says, Michael's hair is like Barf's from Spaceball's tail. It has a mind of its own.
I think this might go too far. Like, we're
I
getting
don't
so
think
much
it can ever
traction
go
on
too
this.
far.
Is my hair like extra poofy today,
No,
or is it something?
You asked me suddenly what the next question was, and I just looked at you, and your hair was so lovely. It was the only thing that I could think of to say, and that's why we're having this conversation.
So why would Superman need the Justice Jogger?
Oh, right.
No, wait. I want to ask the question that came before that, which is, what would be more useless in a land battle? What was it? I just saw it. Now it's gone. It was a great question. Oh, which would be more useless in a land battle, Aquaman or the Justice Jogger?
The Justice Jogger would be more useless because Superman can already run at great speed.
No. Oh.
Yeah. I think Aquaman would be more useful if they just gave it some thought. And there's also, I see one here. Did you ever see the Commando figures based on Schwarzenegger's movie? Yes. As a matter of fact, I believe I had one at one time. It wasn't complete. But it's a quirky little line, kind of like Over the Top had a toy line. I like those little toy lines. I'd like to get into them more in the future.
Why don't you guys review Transformers Beast Wars?
We don't review Transformers Beast Wars because we don't have any of them right now. At some point down the road, I will try and get the first wave of them to review. That's kind of what I like to do, is get the core of a toy line, like the first wave, and then review it from there. Because the core of a toy line, the first wave, maybe the first 2 waves in some cases, are really the essence of the property.
Aaron, you had a question about the Justice Jogger a second ago. What was that?
It was just, why would Superman need it? I'm assuming because he can fly.
Right. It's a gimmick toy. They should have given that to another character, but Superman, probably being one of the more popular characters for kids, they didn't want to name, like they didn't want to name it the Martian Manhunter Jogger because nobody's going to know who he is, and they didn't want to name it, you know.
You could call it the hunting jogger.
It would have been better if they had made it translucent green plastic and made it a Green Lantern construct that he could have been put in.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, but they didn't do that because reasons. So.
David S. gave us $5. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And he says, love your videos and enjoyed your Mattel Jurassic World review. Will you still be doing a review of the original Kenner Jurassic Park line?
Yes, I will do a Kenner Jurassic Park line review feature in the future because I really love the original movie, and of course I love Kenner. So I've wanted to explore those. I will give you a little bit of insight into my initial observation back in the 90s when I was a teenager, just kind of still going into the toy store, was that those figures were really strange looking from the perspective of accuracy. It's like, why are they all super buff and they don't look anything like the characters in the movie? You know, Alan Grant's got like, you know, grease level shirt sleeves. You know, I'm surprised he didn't have a pack of cigarettes rolled up into one. And
you don't know he
didn't.
didn't.
Looks like a Rob Liefeld superhero. It was a strange line for sure.
What do you think of Playmobil?
I like Playmobil. My favorite toy in the Playmobil line is the bank robbery playset that came out a few years ago. That thing's awesome. I wish I had it because who doesn't want a toy line that actively promotes breaking into an ATM with a crowbar?
Now, I know we did a live stream on a Toys R Us visit when we found out what was going to be happening. Did you ever do like just a Michael and Melinda goes to Toys R Us and just walks around one last time?
No, we did the one where we all went together to Toys R Us, but I never went back after that.
Did we post that?
We did.
Okay.
I'm not somebody that wants to go into like a out of business store on its last day and all the aisles are taped off and all the junk is in the first like 3 rows. Like,
it's funny. It's like that's just not the way you want to see it.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. You know.
Did Christopher Reeve's Superman ever get any toys?
Yes, Christopher Reeve's Superman had a Mego doll that was taller than the other Megos, and it was designed to look like Christopher Reeve slightly, but they couldn't actually promote it as a Superman the movie doll. So it came in generic packaging. And then they also did a Zod, but Zod didn't look like the movie Zod. He looked like the comic book Zod from the Bronze Age or the Silver Age. So there was
that was a licensing thing?
Yeah, it was a licensing problem.
Thoughts on 80s Transformers being sold at Walmart now?
I know that the characters of Transformers are still being circulated through new lines. I didn't realize that they were re-releasing G1 figure molds, and maybe what you're talking about is tribute lines that have the same characters just retooled. But I like the way they look. We talked about them on the Transformers live stream. I think some of them look really nice.
Are we ever going to get that Bionic 6 review?
Yes, we are going to
I never get tired of that question.
We're going to get the Bionic 6 review. All of the Bionic 6 collection is right here. As a matter of fact, I just received a box the other day from Canada. Let me go grab that. Everybody, swig your Pepsi.
Just want to say thanks to Golgox8. Thanks, we'll keep it up. And Logan Michael had
8.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Logan Michael had another question. It was about the pronunciation of a word. I think it's RIAH, R-I-A-H. What does that sound like backwards? I'm hearing laughs. Is that
farty chair?
Something?
Farty chair.
All right. I haven't mic'd it yet. They can't hear it.
All right. So we just got this as a surprise donation from Canada the other day. This was one of the last pieces that I needed for the Bionic 6 review, actually. It's the laser arrow chair. And we'll be doing Bionic 6 hopefully before the end of this year. So watch for that.
What was your final decision on investing in the sail barge?
I didn't invest in the sail barge. That was That was $500, and I really felt like there
He
were.
would rather have a Captain America shield.
I would rather have a Captain America shield. I would rather have. Shocking to say, I'm saying this, okay? I would.
Say it.
I'm gonna say it. I would rather have the Thundercats lair than have the sail
agree.
barge. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I want to redo the Thundercats
cats.
video, the toy line video, because I feel like now that we're really ramped up, we could do that more justice than we could back then, because that was our first video. And so I'd really rather have a cat's lair than a sail barge.
Do you think we'll ever see a resurgence in playsets? I'm not expecting to see 7-inch scale playsets from anyone other than NECA, but they're virtually non-existent these days, even in 3 3/4.
Yeah, I hope to see playsets again. It's too bad because there's a disconnect when you are trying to sell a figure line to kids and all you're doing is putting out like 5 figures and nothing else. And then what do those kids do? I mean, yes, imagination has its place, like so many snide people liked to tell me a few years ago when I would criticize certain toy lines. Well, you know, you have to use your imagination. Yeah, but imagination only goes so far if the product line isn't supported with other interesting peripheral accessories. And playsets are some of those accessories. And so a lot of these toy lines are failing because there's just not enough of it there. Like we just looked today at the grocery store, they had all of the Incredibles 2 action figures from Jakks Pacific. Well, the action figures look nice enough for the movie, but I didn't see any vehicles, I didn't see any play sets or scenarios from the film, I didn't see anything really kinetic. So do they end up becoming dust catchers like everything else? I don't know.
Badadiz wants to know who dusts the toy museum. It's not Broken Vader.
Zing. Fortunately,
he
the
hates
toy
me.
museum, for the most part, is protected from dust because of the doors on the cases. This case behind me has to get dusted occasionally because it's open to the elements. It was originally intended to have a door on it, but there was some miscommunication with the carpenter. So
I couldn't get the transparent aluminum in time.
Yeah, right.
We just had to let it go.
Yeah, so you know how quaint. Yeah, we dust this one cabinet, and then at the top, I'm kind of letting it ride right now because it would be a lot of work, honestly.
You guys are joking. There's no dust in this place.
I know, right?
Would you consult on an 80s themed toy line?
That's a good question.
Would I consult on an 80s themed toy line? I mean, yeah, if I was asked to, sure.
No, just throwing your opinion at people.
Not unsolicited, no.
Okay.
I don't like being an unsolicited, obnoxious, you know.
You could write stiff letters to
Hey!
Hasbro.
Hey, you know what I think about
I
that?
don't appreciate your tone. Will you review Lego Voltron?
I've seen Lego Voltron being announced. I don't know if I'm gonna go get Lego Voltron. I didn't go get the Lego DeLorean. I didn't go get the Lego Ghostbusters. I don't know. It's just Legos are expensive, and once you go down that rabbit hole, it's very hard to escape. It's gravity well, so I try and steer clear of Lego when I can. It looks like a nice piece, but especially because it's not minifigure scale, which would be awesome. That really is keeping me away because it would be nice to be able to put minifigs in the Lions.
What's your favorite 80s breakfast cereal? Count Chocula.
My favorite 80s breakfast cereal. I have fond memories of a number of them because of the
Kaboom!
Because of the lady that took care of me when my mom was at work. She had the whole library of sweetened cereals, and I used to eat Lucky Charms a lot and Fruit Loops a lot, and I'd let Captain Crunch cereal tear up the roof of my mouth before it got soggy enough in the milk to be gruel consistency kibble.
I love Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh
And
yeah,
thank you, Justin Welches.
Oh, what did Justin just do?
He gave us $2 and said loves the stream.
Oh, thank you, Justin. Appreciate the donation.
Are you looking forward to the re-release of the real Ghostbusters?
Oh, the Ghostbusters Toys re-release? Yeah, they look really great. I would love to. I actually was talking to Tim and Aaron about that at work a few weeks ago. I would love to get those 4 action figures. They look, and Slimer. They look really good. I would love to review those as a short modern musings video, yeah.
Do you think since we never had one, there should be a Secret Wars cartoon?
Well, we had the comic book line for Secret Wars. As a matter of fact, I was having a discussion the other day with with Tim, where he felt like they should have done Secret Wars in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before Infinity War, which is a novel idea. I would watch a Secret Wars cartoon. Yeah, I would watch one.
Someone asked, what's your favorite cereal prize? But I would like to modify that, cereal prize or fast food prize that you get with your fast food stuff from the 80s.
I've always been fascinated by the Captain Crunch whistle that was before my time. It was the one that
the 2600 whistle? The hacker whistle?
The hacker whistle, yeah. The one that the guy was able to use to whistle the tones into a payphone and get calls for free. I mean,
Amazing.
Genius. I would love to have that just as a historical piece.
Are you talking about freaking?
What?
Anyway, moving on. I liked the California raisins myself.
Yeah, they were good. They were a good prize and they were larger than the ones you got at Hardee's.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Raisin Bran California raisins, good stuff.
Will I do a podcast on horror movies? I mean, maybe.
Probably.
We've touched on them a couple of times, talked about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, we kind of had like a nice buffet podcast on that for Halloween last year, so
Probably,
we'll be
maybe
taking
for
ideas.
Halloween. Yeah. I mean, there's the new Halloween movie coming out, so there's that.
There is that. That's a thing.
Yep. Have you ever seen the Mego diecast Superman and Batman?
I've never seen the Mego. Oh yes, I have seen the Mego diecast Superman and Batman. Those are the ones that you could put them together magnetically and then take their limbs off magnetically, I believe. They're interesting. They're not something that I actively go out and seek, on eBay or anything like that, but they're definitely an interesting gimmick.
Did Ghostbusters 2016 decrease or increase the value of original toy lines? Same question for Star Wars post-Disney.
Well, Star Wars post-Disney has definitely seen a surge in value as far as vintage goes. The vintage has really gone up in value across the board for Star Wars since The Force Awakens came out, and then even worse after Rogue One. With Ghostbusters, I haven't really kept my finger on that pulse, so I don't know for sure. I feel like the Ghostbusters was a non-starter relaunch, and so everything just kind of stayed the same.
What's your favorite horror movie?
They're asking you that question, not me.
No, I'm asking you that question.
My favorite horror
was
movie.
Was it the new Justice League movie?
My favorite horror movie.
Was it The Last Jedi?
My favorite horror movie is The Thing. I like John Carpenter's The Thing.
That was really good. I just rewatched that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, great movie.
It still creeps me out.
Yeah, it's just creepy as all get out.
Oh, see, someone did say what's your favorite horror movie. Do you have a Jedi Knight outfit?
I have a Luke Skywalker's Empire Strikes Back outfit known as the Bespin outfit. I have that. I don't have a Jedi Knight outfit, no.
Logan Michael, thank you very much, Logan. You're really going the extra mile. Do you have any NECA figures?
I want the NECA figures from various lines. I don't have any of them yet. I know that they did some really great Rambo figures from a few years back for the different Rambo films. NECA has also just done, what was the line they just announced that they came out with? I loved their comic book accurate Ninja Turtles, the original Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles. Those were amazing, and I'm disappointed that I missed those before they priced out so heavily that I couldn't justify buying them. But yeah, I like the work that NECA does. I'm
a big fan of their wafers.
That just went out of business.
What?
NECA finally closed up shop.
We're being chided gently here. Someone asked, do you remember when we were talking about superhero toys?
Sorry.
I'm trying. Look, I take the questions as you guys give them to me, and I try and answer them, and then get us back on topic. What would you like to know about the superheroes lines? And I will happily answer that. I can tell you this.
Is the Hall of Justice yellow to avoid copyright infringement with the museum it's based on, or was yellow plastic just cheaper than white plastic?
And to add to that, an earlier question was, what's inside the Hall of Justice?
Yeah, what's inside the Hall of Justice?
Okay, so to answer the first question, the Hall of Justice probably was colored yellow as part of this whole color scheme of the line. So the line is very dynamic on a shelf. It looks great because of all the different primary colors, which is very much a DC thing. Superheroes back in the 80s were more primary colored and positive, and that was part of the norm. As far as what's inside the Hall of Justice, you have the helipad, which I brought out to set the Batcopter on. Inside, you have an elevator, you have a trap door into a jail, you have these recharging sort of stations for the various heroes to stand in. You have the computer bays, where Batman can do all of his, computering stuff. As a matter of fact, you can see the interior of the Hall of Justice on our RetroBlasting Superpowers 2-part feature. If you go to part 2 about the toy line, I go through all of the interior of the Hall of Justice.
Favorite Superpowers figure?
My favorite Superpowers figure, probably Superman, because he was the closest thing I had to a Christopher Reeve figure growing up. I also really love the mail-away Clark Kent because he's based on the Kurt Swan pre-Crisis of Infinite Earths look of Superman and Clark Kent. That's one of the reasons I love the Superpowers line, is that it's very Bronze Age. It's very Juan Garcia Lopez artwork looking. It's based on that style guide. I also love the capes on like Martian Manhunter and Dr. Fate. They all just hang really well. I'll grab Dr. Fate and show you. He's just an elegant action figure.
If you could add an accessory to any Secret Wars or Superpowers figure other than Captain America's shield, what would it be?
Well, Wolverine had his claws. Farty chair. Wolverine had his claws. And so I've got, let's see if we can get, there's Dr. Fate. Just a great figure all the way around. Great color scheme. The cape drapes perfectly. As far as accessories for Secret...
That you would add.
That I would add for Secret Wars, I would give Spider-Man something web-like to have to swing from. I would give him like a web swing, lasso or something like that, because I know you can use your imagination, but
even if you had like a hook or something on the end of it, you could put it on something and then let it go through.
Right. That's what I would do, because Spider-Man, I know we got 2 versions of him, but Spider-Man needs a little something.
Is it easy to collect superpowers today?
I mean, it's easier to collect superpowers because they were popular, and Secret Wars was popular too, so they were made in large numbers. It just depends on the characters you're looking for, and also if you're willing to get them with or without accessories. So you can get Aquaman all day as long as you don't care about that trident. If you want that trident, you're gonna pay more. Same thing with the capes. The capes on these figures, especially like Superman's has that S on the back. If you don't care about having that S in good condition, you can get a Superman with a cape, cheaper. If you really don't care about the cape at all, and I don't know why you'd want him without the cape, but if you didn't, you can get him really inexpensively. So
I love the question of what superhero would look the most ridiculous just walking around in everyday life.
Yeah.
Getting a burger.
Let's see.
This one.
What, Cyborg?
Yeah.
Man, so much hate for
It's
Cyborg.
harsh.
I like Cyborg's look. I think it's a beautiful figure.
I didn't say that I didn't like him. I'm just saying he would not blend.
I think Baron Zemo would be a hard one to go get a burger, in the drive-through line. Lex Luthor in his armor, his battle armor, that might be a little cumbersome. So.
Are there any paint rub problems with superpowers?
Yes, for the emblems on the chests, there are paint rub problems, so you got to check those. Same thing with the stars on Wonder Woman's trunks. And then with some of the emblems on, say, Brainiac's shoulders, you have to watch for those things so that they don't get rubbed off. And then, of course, anything vac metallized like Brainiac or Cyborg tends to rub if you're not careful.
What are your opinions on the Toy Biz DC superhero reissues of Superpowers toys from early 90s?
Yeah, like I said earlier, that line is getting more love now than it did back in the day. They are reissues for the most part. They're kind of goofy in certain areas, but I think as time has gone on, people have appreciated them more. I wish I had the Superman and Wonder Woman from that line. I don't have those yet. I do have the movie-related stuff, the Batman-related stuff from that line.
Hey Logan, thanks again, and I would argue that that Superman has Michael's hair already, so
Yeah.
he wants to know what superhero would look better with Michael's hair.
Oh my God.
So.
Spider-Man.
And hey guys, I hate to be that guy, but we are coming up on 5 minutes, so just wanted to let you know.
Yo, your question's out.
Yeah. Shout out your questions about the
shout 'em
superheroes toys of the 80s.
Apparently, we have to stay on topic, so stay on topic.
Well, I
Well, we can
agree.
drift a little.
I agree with that person who said, stay on topic when we can.
Stay on
you know?
topic.
Stay on topic.
Stay
We're too
on
close.
topic.
Stay on topic.
Stay on
Loosen
topic.
up. Boom.
Okay, so we already answered that one. Did Migo Spidey come with that paint scheme, or did his paint rub off?
Migo Spidey came with
Because he
that.
does look like he's wearing jeans.
It
Yeah.
looks like a jeans and a hoodie and a
Yeah.
mask or something.
Yeah, Migo Spidey, I'll put him under the spotlight, under the microscope here again. He did come with this general paint scheme. I think there were some variations to this, but for the most part, that's what he looked like. He did have a silver spider on his back. This one's rubbed off a little bit, but the spider on his back was silver. But yeah, for the most part, they tended to look like this. Migo wasn't exactly all that intense on detail.
Venom75 points out that he thinks Lex Luthor would love your hair. Why are there no female toys in Secret Wars? From Saturday Morning Fan.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It gets back to that whole thing of all these boys' toy lines from the 80s quietly eliminating the female characters from the toy line. Superpowers, the vote's still out. We know they had intended to do a Supergirl. There was some debate as to whether or not they intended a Catwoman, but the only female that actually got into the line was Wonder Woman because she was so popular, she was or famous. She was one of those inescapable figures. If they hadn't put her in the first wave, people would have asked what they were doing. Secret Wars, the Marvel characters at the time, I don't think they were as out front with kids because
remember, the Christopher Reeve movies were very popular, but they were really the only comic book movie game in town, and few and far between remembered the live-action Spider-Man show by that point. And we did have the Bill Bixby Hulk show in syndication, but I was watching Linda Carter in syndication and Adam West in syndication more frequently than I was the Bill Bixby Incredible Hulk show. So I think Marvel was just trying to go with the characters they thought would appeal to boys the most.
Any suggestions outside of eBay for replacement parts for the Superpowers Batmobile?
Ooh, no, I think eBay is your best bet. Sometimes you can find things on Etsy. People tend not to look at Etsy, but you can find things occasionally on Etsy. The selection is far, far less, exponentially less. But every now and then you might find a win.
And then probably groups, maybe on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook groups, good
sometimes.
point. Yeah, Facebook groups.
Logan, again, thank you. He says the Tower of Doom is better than the Hall of Justice.
Oh, yeah, the Tower of Doom, because the Hall of Justice has this hinge configuration, it tends to have these plastic hinges that split, and it's also really just a one-level good guy kind of base. The Tower of Doom is, there's a lot more going on with it. You know, you've got the gun turret and the trap doors and the hidden doors, and you know, you've got the cage on the inside and the moving chair. It's small, but it's busy, I guess is how I'd put it.
Thank you very much, Nevermore Antiques. And they say Michael's hair is a symbiote. It has to be true.
Thank you. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it.
Let's see. Does the Bat helicopter have any action features?
Yes, the Bat helicopter has a sort of like a winch. It's spring-loaded in the front, and it flies off with a string attached to it, and then you can rope it back in. And then, of course, it has a knob on the bottom where you can spin it to get the rotor to spin independently.
Nicholas, I just want to say, you asked a replacement part for a missing arm for Leg of Plastic Man 3D printing. I have not seen a replacement arm for him. If you're good at modeling, you could probably work something like that out. I have had some decent luck recently printing things. I'm working on a lightsaber right now. It's one of the Graflex sabers. And have been working on it for several weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to show something to you guys before forever.
Yeah, 3D printing is going to save a lot of us some of those hard-to-find parts, for sure.
Yeah, Badides says 1 more hour.
Unfortunately, we have 1 more minute.
Yeah.
But this would be a good time to mention you can always come and find, like if you like what we do, you can support us at patreon.com/retroblasting. Just stop on by, and if you feel like it, if you want to throw something our way on the regular, you can do it there. Where can we find out more from you guys?
Yeah, you can always join our Facebook community, which is pretty strong. There's 11,000 plus people on the Facebook page. Always, please, I know you're already subscribers here, but word of mouth helps our channel a lot. So if we can grow more subscribers on YouTube, that's the most helpful thing we can do, and Patreon, of course. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we have a retroblasting.com. And also, just to let everybody know, Patreon, anybody who joins Patreon, everybody gets to vote on the live stream topics for each live stream. And also, everybody who's in the Patreon, you get 24-hour exclusive access to all of the videos that I post that are feature videos.
Yeah, you get them a day early.
Yeah, you get all those a day early. There are different tiers. So I'm always putting stuff up for all the various tiers, whether it's behind the scenes photos, short video clips, all kinds of stuff that a lot of people have never seen.
Hairstyling tips, all sorts of
Not
things.
Not yet with that.
It's
I'm not sure we're ready to unveil.
Really?
Do you have any idea how many people have asked about hairstyling tips and products that you use?
We're not making fun, Michael.
I'm not lying.
Okay, well.
We did miss a lot of questions today, so they came in faster than normal.
Okay.
We apologize.
Yeah. I just found out that we missed a lot of your questions, and we do apologize for that. These are very busy, active live streams, which we very much appreciate. And if you see the chat window's going by like bullets. So we've missed a few of those. We apologize, but we're trying to get to all the questions we can. And thank you for all the super chats, because those bowled them out, and then we're able to see those faster and get those asked. But we really appreciate everybody's participation today. We hope this has been fun. And please check us out on YouTube, as you already are. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, if you're interested, check out our Patreon page. Patreon.
And check out the Dreamland podcast if you're into podcasts.
Yes, check out the Dreamland podcast. Aaron Harper has been behind the camera moderating today. We really appreciate it. He's also the one talking about 3D printing. He and Melinda do the Dreamland podcast. It's a lot of fun, and that's our official RetroBlasting podcast.
I'm actually only a voice, so.
Oh, you're just a disembodied
He's a
voice.
disembodied voice.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, and we will see you on the next video.
See you in
guys.
2 weeks.